The Airshow isn't just about powered flight. There's also the technology of the 18th century, the hot air balloon. They come in all shapes, sizes and corporate logos. And in addition, a massed parachute descent. Two other big piston-engined aircraft with a maritime background, the beautifully restored Lockheed Neptune, now in its new paint job of blue and white, made a welcome reappearance at Richmond, as did the sole surviving Grumman tracker from the Royal Australian Navy based at Nowra. The tracker is part of the Royal Australian Navy's historical flight. Its role was hunting and killing submarines, a task now left to helicopters. The Neptune is the biggest and probably the most complicated warbird operated in Australia. It's one of 24 formerly used for anti-submarine duties between 1951 and 1968. The aircraft originally operated with two small jet engines as well. Today, these are purely cosmetic. The tracker first entered service with the Navy in 1966. Once there were 32, but they were phased out with the aircraft carrier Melbourne. This is the only survivor. In this flypast, the tracker deploys its Sting, the magnetic anomaly detector. Its job, to detect submarines. At the controls, Commodore Rob Partington from the Royal Australian Navy at Nowra. As for Australia's other surviving trackers, they are being re-engined and sold to Brazil. At the controls of the long-range Neptune, Bob de la Hunty, a Sydney solicitor. A second Neptune from the French Aéronavale is now in Australia and is being restored to fly. roulettes are ready to roll, flying not a jet, but a turboprop aircraft, and a fast one at that. This is the Pilatus PC-9, a Swiss-designed aircraft with a Canadian engine. These machines are built in Australia by the Hawker de Havilland Company. They've replaced the Macchi as an advanced trainer, and surprisingly they carry ejection seats in common with most jets. "67 of these aircraft serve with the RAAF. Surprisingly, they're faster than some small jets, capable of nearly 600 kilometres an hour at 20,000 feet.
This one only has a group of 4 and it has previous messages
The roulettes are the RAAF's premier aerobatic team. The last time they were at Richmond, they were flying the Macchi jets, but these are now being progressively retired. Even so, this is formation aerobatics at its best.
What makes the PC-9 ideally suited to this sort of aerobatic work, this sort of routine?
It's a very manoeuvrable aeroplane. It has a powerful engine, it has a very low wing loading, and it's quite light, so the combination of all that certainly enables it to be manoeuvred through the sky quite easily. One thing going against it for formation aeros, because of its low wing loading, it does get affected by turbulence a lot more than, say, the Macchi did or a heavier aircraft.
Yeah, I saw you wobbling around a bit yesterday.
So we do have difficulty in turbulence, but being at East Sale, we certainly get a lot of experience with strong winds and turbulence, so the guys get used to it. The thing with this aeroplane, you can't afford to get affected by the turbulence. We tell the guys just ride through it, wait till the turbulence stops, and then back in position.
The Pilatus PC-9 is powered by a big engine dragging a very light airframe, so light that it's sometimes difficult to keep in close formation during windy conditions. There are 6 young men in this team. They fly synchronised formation aerobatics, sometimes as close as 3 metres apart. But this is a difficult business, keeping your plane from flying into the prop wash of the plane in front. It's precise flying, with no margin for error. From fixed to rotary wing, and one of the newest aircraft to appear at Richmond, the S-70B2 Seahawk helicopter of the Royal Australian Navy. At the controls, Lieutenant Commander Mark Ogden. This is a fast and highly manoeuvrable helicopter, and although it looks externally similar to the Black Hawk flown by the Army, this machine has been exclusively equipped for the maritime role. Its job, anti-submarine warfare and anti-ship surveillance. The Seahawk has 2 turboshaft engines driving a 4-bladed rotor. The Navy has 16 of them based at Nara, and they'll serve alongside the older Sea King helicopters, also with the RAN. A bow to the crowd, and Mark Ogden hands over to another helicopter. From the Army, the Aerospatiale Écurie, or squirrel helicopter. The Écurie is one of the great success stories of French aviation, and it's in use with both civilian and military operators in Australia in both the single and twin-engine form. And a manoeuvre not often seen in helicopters. The aircraft stalls, and as it pulls out, performs 2 rolls. One of the other big attractions of the show, the return to Australian shores of the Canberra bomber. Steve, thank you very much for returning this aircraft, but I know we can't keep it.
No. What I'm working out is see if I can work out enough air shows to bring it over for 6 months. Your air show time is the opposite of our air show time, and instead of having it sitting in the hangar there in Boise, Idaho, all winter long, getting cold, we could bring it down here, and I'd leave it here, and there's a couple fellows that can fly it, and the 2 Squadron and wants to maintain it. And I'll leave it here for 6 months and let it tour here and come back and pick it up and take it to the States.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in Australia who'll be pleased to hear that because, of course, a lot of people have a soft spot for the Canberra, as you obviously do. How far does your personal love affair with the Canberra go back?
I really didn't know that much about it, and I ended up with the airplane, and I'm very pleased. The more you're around the Canberra and the more you've worked on it and lucky enough to fly it, it's an excellent airplane. One thing that I really enjoyed when I went to pick up the Canberra, I was really impressed to how well maintained the airplane had been. It's a 1957 Canberra. The 2 Squadron maintained it and took care of it up at Amberley, and it's excellent. When I got here, I got checked out in the airplane, got some flying time in it, and it was essentially ready to fly across the pond over to the U.S. And since then, I've had to do very little. I do a lot of inspections, but major problems or anything, the airplane's it's just a honey. It's a lot of fun.
Steve Picarty now keeps this aircraft at Boise in Idaho. It was built in Melbourne in 1957 and is now the only privately owned Canberra in the world. And at a minute's notice, I was fortunate to get a first-hand experience of Steve Picarty's aerobatic display.
On 744 abort position.